All right, what is up, young world, and welcome back to episode 2, of These Corona Times. You are tuned in again with the coolest cats and the kittens.
Carol Baskin
I gotta find a way to sneak it in there without Carol Baskin.
I was waiting for
Carol Baskin gonna get you.
She's gonna sue us.
She's not for play.
Well, nothing from nothing leaves nothing, so she ain't gonna get nothing from me. So, of course, I'm Tiffany. That's Simone.
Brandon.
There's Brandon and his hair.
His hair is with us this evening.
Repping the Menace Knights.
EO Menace Junior Academy Knights. One of the few black private schools in Kentucky. Definitely in Louisville. Been going since, I want to say, 1915. So over 100 years of excellence. So I graduated in 99. All my brothers graduated there as well. So just a little plug.
Yeah.
It's a night thing.
It's a night thing. I attended through K through 4th grade. So I'm a kindergarten alumni from
if you went 1 year, you went all of them. So
yeah.
I did not attend. I don't know what happened.
Sad.
Right. Well, we are back for episode 2. Today's episode is going to be called Church is Changing in These Corona Times. We're going to have a special guest with us, which we'll tell you about a little later, but we're going to be looking at this from the pastor's perspective. But first, before we jump into everything, we just want to say a really big thank you to everybody who tuned in over the week, everybody who watched and shared, commented, and liked. We did this vidcast with no pre-advertising or anything of that nature.
Nothing.
So we literally just shared it on Monday, and you all, liked it, watched it, commented. So we really appreciate that.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And it is Mother's Day. We record on Sunday, so happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. I definitely had a good day.
Simone, happy Mother's Day to you.
Happy Mother's Day, Simone.
Thank you. My child is in the bed now, and the day just got better. Mother's Day just got better. Now
the real party can begin.
Real party. Yes. Kids go to bed.
So, do you have so much you want to say, Tiff?
Nope, that's you. Go ahead.
So last week at the very end, we talked about some self-care things we wanted to do. So I wanted to see if y'all remember what your self-care task was and how you did with it.
You want to go first?
When do y'all want to go?
Tiff?
Sure, I'll go. Okay, so mine was to go outside. I did make it quantitative, so at least twice so that I can measure that goal. I did go outside twice this week. This past week was kind of a difficult week for me. It was the year anniversary of the passing of my uncle. We lost him to cancer May 5th of last year. So
a year.
Right, it's been a year. So the 5th this past week. I know, right? The 5th of this past week was really a difficult day for me. But I, really made a strong attempt to get out of the house, and it was really nice. Even though we couldn't really do much of anything, we kind of just drove around and people watched. Let me tell you, the folks of Indiana are not social distancing by any means.
They're not.
But it was nice to get out, and we went out another day this week as well. Did a little porch drive-by to my family's house, so got to see folks. So I did keep with my promise, and I got out twice this week.
Awesome. Very good. Very good. And for me, I was trying to get more rest. And I have definitely accomplished that. And it made my week a little bit better. I used to stay up. I'm a night owl. Like, my mom would go to bed at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I feel great going to bed at midnight. And then but giving up at, my kids got me up one day this week at 4:30. And, those, going to bed at midnight, it's not a good thing. So trying to get in bed before that time and then taking more opportunities to just rest and kind of decompress over the weekend has definitely, that's paid off quite a bit. So that's something I'm going to keep doing. Instead of just staying up, I'm just staying up to midnight, 1 o'clock just because. And I'm just like, let's go to bed.
Listen, don't knock it, okay? Some of us that's still our testimony, okay?
Yes.
Are we up? We just
like
I need my sleep. And, if I was like my mama will go to bed at 2:00 in the morning and then get up at noon the next day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's great. And before I had kids, I could do that too.
Right.
But
that's what I do on the weekends.
but now if I go to bed at 2:00 in the morning, I got to be right back up no earlier.
Mm-hmm.
No later than 7:30. So it's shooting myself in the foot.
So my little piece of self-care was supposed to be to kind of push the mommy guilt to the side and spend more time alone. And I've had 2 instances where I was talking on the phone outside in the car for like 30 minutes.
Yeah, that'll work. That'll work.
It's not what I had in mind. But so I did that.
Yeah, take what you can get.
I'm gonna keep growing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna keep growing on that.
That's growth. It's growth.
Yes. I'm glad y'all had some success.
Yeah, can't wait to see what the goals we set for ourselves for next week that we talk about at the end of the show.
Mm-hmm.
So,
for sure.
Bryant, can you tell us why we're here this week? What we're going to be talking about this week?
So we are talking about church.
Yeah.
We're talking about church. Now, the reason, and how a lot of this, Corona, COVID-19, whatever you want to call it, has kind of disrupted our regular church. We as Black folks, we love church for multiple reasons, whether it is for social, for spiritual, for all those things. And this has disrupted us quite a bit. And it's good to see, from a pastoral point of view, what's been going on, how the members are reacting, and how we are coping with our spirituality during this time. We're used to, in some cases, whether you go to church on Saturday or Sunday, going to church and getting fed one way or another. And in some cases, we're missing some of that. So how are we coping with our spiritual life? Are we praying more? Are we doing more devotions? Are we listening online to other pastors? Is our church, whatever church you attend, they're doing live stuff, or, how are they reaching out to you? So we're all church kids. We met in church. And so church has been an integral part of our lives for the last, I'm a pastor's kid, so for the last 35 years. So
our whole lives, yeah.
So this is probably the first, actually not even, this is the first time ever that I have gone this long without stepping foot in the church building. Ever.
Yeah. And another piece of that is, there's been a lot of issues within the church for a long time, even before this.
Yeah.
And so it'd be interesting to talk about how this has made things worse. Will it make things worse when things get back to normal? Are things going to improve? I think this has just brought a lot of things to light, just collectively and individually. So definitely want to talk about all those, as much of that as we can.
Yeah.
Another thing too, is it going to be any type of silver lining with it? With the extra stuff that churches are now being forced to do, do you necessarily need a huge building now? Do you need all of these quote unquote ministries? Are there other things that you can do to kind of streamline, your services and streamline your ministries and potentially save a couple of dollars, going forward, or maybe redirecting some of that money to different places. So it's, I think, for not just churches, but a lot of things in general, the way we come out of this, we're going to have to operate differently. And how different, this really depends on who you are, the church that you attend, this, that, and the other. But I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to have to be done differently with churches. Because now that we've gotten a taste of not stepping foot in a church building for 2, when it's all said and done, 3 months, do you necessarily want to step back into
Do you want to go in there?
Right.
Do you need to go?
Yeah.
Do you really need to go?
Yeah.
Are you getting adequately fed without going to church? Are you, will it be, like it was back in the day? Will it be more, small gatherings in homes? I don't know. I don't know.
It's
Was
funny
that
because
called in-gathering back in the day? That was my mother and grandmother. They be coming out with terms, in-gathering.
in-gathering,
I'm like,
yeah.
what is that?
What's funny is this has went from it's like, when will we return to church, to now, like, if we will be going, like, when it opens up, if you will be going back or not. So that's just really interesting to me, because I think we've all just hit on the fact that we're raised in the church, all of our lives. I, like Brandon, this is the longest I have not been in a sanctuary for my whole 36 years. So it's just becoming really interesting to think about, even when this is over, or as we're starting to move into the new normal or whatever that may be. Do we really plan to go back? Do we really need to go back? Will you want to go back? So with all that said, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to further this discussion with our special guest. So we will be right back after this pause for the cause. Okay, we are back, and as you can see, we have grown from 3 to 4. And this guy down here below me in the corner, we all know him, but we realize he may need some introduction for you all. So, Simone?
I might know a little something about this guy. He's my cousin. He is a pastor. He's the pastor of College Dale SDA Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. And when we thought about doing this episode, he's the first person that we thought of to come and just give his perspective about how COVID-19 has impacted our church community College Hill. Why did I say College Dale?
College Dale is in Chattanooga, isn't it?
Definitely in Chattanooga. Yeah.
College Hill, my bad. College Hill SDA Church in Knoxville, Tennessee. So now, here you are. So thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for being here, cousin. We really appreciate your perspective. So I think we have so many different questions and things we want to talk about, but the first thing is, how are you doing with all of this as a pastor? How are you managing emotionally, psychologically? What's going on with you in the midst
I know
of
you're a people person, so I know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm trying to catch up. I'm making up excuses to get outside, to call people, to get engaged with people, trying to keep my mind distracted as an individual, like just trying to do stuff in the house, things that we always wanted to do, just do stuff. And realizing that need of community, one of the things that came to my mind is everybody's having breaking news. Everybody's got a COVID update. Everybody's got a press conference. The governors have made a decision. Senate's done passed a bill. Somebody's done passed a budget. Somebody done come out with a report about. And so there's so much going on that one of the things I realized is that if you focus on information too much, you can get depressed. So one of the things I started doing is having prayer every night at 10 with a nugget. What to do today? What are we going to do since we have nothing to do? And the best part about it is it's really grown me as an individual because it's challenged me. I have to have devotion every day. Like a lot of you guys don't know, not all your pastors need, well, I'm not talking but sometimes there's so much church stuff to do. I mean, there's the windows that got to be replaced.
You don't need activities.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to do that sometimes you almost forget to have devotion. You'll go through your whole day and wonder why you feel like crap. You're like, oh, snap. I did not spend time with God today. I didn't listen to a sermon. I didn't sing any songs. People called me. A phone call woke me up. And literally I've been going ever since. And so, there's that. Then there's you can't see your family, you can't see your church members. So literally the Facebook Live every night is really starting to build a community where people are sharing information. People are jumping on, hey, Pastor, how you doing? Asking people if they need to give me a prayer request update, let me know how you're doing. And then I've also just had to I'm trying all types of stuff. Like, it's killing me, Brandon. It's killing me.
Trying to what? Trying to what?
A people person. And this,
yes.
This thing, it'll do one or two things. It'll have you spending too much time with one person or not enough time with anybody. Like, there's no in between.
Growing up, the thing was that you did not meet a stranger. That was what your mom would say. Bryant don't meet a stranger. I'm like, he doesn't. He just starts talking.
I don't know what a stranger is.
And I don't understand it because I'm the opposite. The opposite.
Look, man, there's always something to.
But that's awesome.
There's always something to try to bridge.
So, but going back to what you were saying earlier, about your Facebook Live. Is that something that we can just type into Facebook, College Hill?
Yeah, you can type in College Hill. I tag the church. I tag the location of the church, and it's on my personal page. So you go to Bryant, Stewart. You can, I got a Facebook handcuffs, but if you let me know who you are, I can put you on. Because sometimes we get some random friend requests when you go guest speaking. So yeah, we had to be careful with the content.
That was something that you said before that kind of resonated with me. You were like, you were talking about being bombarded with all this information and how if you let that sink in, it starts to really mess with your mental, and how you start to feel kind of depressed and wonder like, oh, look up and realize you haven't really fed your spiritual life. And I think for me, that's something that has really resonated with me, because I've realized that there were a lot of gaps in my spiritual walk. And I didn't realize it, because when you get into this routine of going to church, and I've been going to church my whole life. If you don't go, your mom is going to call you, why aren't you in church today?
Where were you?
Have to go.
Where were you?
Is something wrong?
Oh, look, that's not as bad as I'm asking, but what was the sermon about?
Right.
I'm the pastor.
Right. And it made me realize, like, oh my gosh, I have not been, like, it's now in my control. Like, it's all me. I have to facilitate this walk, and I feel like I haven't been doing it. And now it's like, do I know how to do this? What does this look like? And so I don't know if y'all can speak to that or resonate with that. I'm just like, wow, I really was not on my stuff.
Go ahead, Tiff.
Yeah, I would say I'll jump in because of the three of us, aside from Bryant, I may be the only person who has like almost a front row seat to what pastoral life is. As an elder of a church, you're kind of like the second line of defense from your
formerly
pastor.
First elder.
Yeah, formerly first elder. Just came off of a first elder tenure. So, for me, not going and being able to have Sabbath, for me, it's almost been really nice, because it's just been Sabbath rest. I haven't been complaining too much, because it's like and Brian can probably speak to this too, you don't get to rest. It's like it's work, but it's work you enjoy doing. But you have to make sure things are done behind the scenes, things are done up front, you're always moving. So for me, it's just been a chance to like lay still. And honestly, while I haven't been doing a lot of virtual church hopping or anything like that, I feel like I've been doing more just resting and kind of reconnecting with the Lord that way, because my Sabbaths used to just exhaust me. Like, I'd be done. I couldn't even do fellowship sometimes with some people, because I would just be like, nope, I'm going home. I'm going to go to my grandma's. I'm going to chill. I'm going to take a nap, because I'm just worn out. So now it's just like I've been really able to kind of reset on Friday. When Sabbath comes in, I put this computer away. I don't think about work. I don't talk about work. I really take that rest on Sabbath. And for me, it's been excellent. Excellent.
I would definitely, go with both. I'm right there with Simone and Tiff when it comes to that. I'm definitely noticing the gaps in how I was, you get your good sermon, it'll last you until maybe Wednesday. And then a good sermon will last you till Wednesday. And then you just got a couple more days, and then you back at the church house again.
Right.
So, it's almost like you all that continuous, and then you listening to your music throughout the weekend, so they kind of hold you over. And now you may not get that. So it's definitely getting that gap. And I am definitely not an elder or a deacon or anyone, but I have my hands in a couple of things at church, and I am enjoying just not being called upon to do certain things and having the chance to like be on my own schedule, which again, if anybody objects to that rest is biblical, folks.
Right. Yes,
and he did rest. Yes.
So it's something that we just don't do it very well.
No, it's been real crazy for me though. Is like I finally, to some degree, got a chance to experience Sabbath rest, but the other side of it, I've been 50 trillion times busier. So the first stage of this whole COVID thing was, it felt like I got pumped. Like, and I'm a real fighter kind of person. I got a fighter personality. If you disagree with me, you better be ready to fight in our conversation.
This is true.
This is true. This is so true.
And it's nothing personal. Like literally, it's
so
about
hard.
He's very passionate.
I had $1 million and you needed it the next second after our argument is over. You got it. But in that moment, I will fight you. And when it came to COVID, it felt like I got punched in the throat by something I couldn't even swing at. And so it was like, it really messed with me. And then the nature of this beer disease has us to where I don't even feel like I can minister to people without either putting people in danger, forget myself, but put people in danger or something else. And so like the hardest part is it's really almost, it stretched me in a way that I've had to relearn how to reach people, because the goal of me now, pastor, is not get everybody to a building. It's officially meet them where they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they ain't coming to your building. And if you're going to have a fine and potentially be arrested, as much as, unfortunately, could potentially cause somebody's death.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's been absolutely mind-boggling to me as an individual.
Yeah.
So going along those lines, like, how did you make the decision to close church, and did you get pushback from your members, and did you know you were going to have to close church down at some point already before they even issued the closing stuff, or did you prepare for it? Like, how did that whole process go?
I got punked, like I said. So my sister had a surgery. Literally, sister had a surgery. COVID was coming down the track. And literally, it was such an unknown that we didn't know what to do. And one of the things is that, they always preach this narrative of a pastor being the speaking angel to God's people on earth or at this house.
Angel of the house.
One of the hardest parts about it was I'm now telling an elder or writing a letter for an elder to say to the church, don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. Even though I ain't in church, you're going to be fine. And that was just not a good message, right? So the hardest part was for me, it was literally closed church, because even if there was a calming voice, it's not present, because I'm ministering to my family, which I believe and would like to encourage every person to do. Minister to your family, don't babysit your family, but minister to your family when they need you. And then get back to church. Your first ministry is always your household. And then get back to your community, your church, your job, or whatever it is. But nevertheless, I literally got punked into it. And so I hated it. Because first I closed church. And then after I closed it, then the conference told me it's closed. And it was like,
I've been closed for 2 weeks.
Right. I'm way ahead of you.
Were your members okay with that? Were they cool with it? Or
Oh no. So I had a mixed emotion. The first thing that happened was everybody was like, pastor cares and it's not about the money or the show. That was the first reaction, which blew my mind. Because I think I'm a little bit further south in the Bible Belt context where, it's, God, University of Tennessee, you know what I'm saying? Like they're simultaneously interchanged, right?
Right.
So the mere fact that I was saying, hey, it's okay to miss because our health is more of a concern. That refreshing concept that, hey, if I ain't gonna be here with you, you don't need to do it. That kind of we in this dogfight together attitude really resonated well with my people. And so that was one stage of it. Another stage of it, people called me in disbelief because I feel like they had the same attitude I had. Like, man, we got punked into this. And I mean, understand, I had ordered 2-ounce bottles, aloe vera gel, and alcohol. I'm talking about a gallon. I just spent like $400. And we was going to pass it out to people in the community while pumping it at our church. Bought face masks. We were really going to try to service our church and the community. To be like, look, we got to take this land down. We're going to, you know what I'm saying? We're going to do
fight.
Yeah, we're going to love you and minister to you. In the meantime, still do what we believe the Lord's called us to do. And then there was just another group of people like, all right, cool. We off, that was
For a year.
had that like millennial.
Man, I can sleep in.
Oh, word?
Right.
Oh, he gonna preach online? You mean I can replay this? I gotta be up at 11? Yeah, I'm there. So there's a lot of my members have also been kind of like, yo, I ain't gonna lie to you. That word was hitting at 3 o'clock like it hit at 11, dog. I'm good. Like, So
it hits at 3 like it does at 11.
You know what I'm saying? So I had a real cocktail. I had a real cocktail worth of responses from my church members.
Okay. And do I know that you mentioned early on that you do Facebook Lives. What are some other ways that you kind of keep your members engaged? Because if you don't keep them engaged, you might lose them. You know.
Yeah. Well, here's the new thing we're doing. I'm planning for the future. So one of the things I did, one of the things I think a lot of churches will realize, a lot of us, how many of us remember church directories?
Yes.
Oh yeah, that last one was rough. That last one was rough.
For a church directory.
The last time what?
You took a photo for a church directory.
Oh.
Been a while for us.
Yeah.
So one of the deals for me that I noticed, a lot of my members have just flat out moved. They didn't come up like George and Wheezy. They had moved from the east side to the west side. They got new jobs, a lot of stuff. So one of the things we just flat out did was like, we don't know where nobody lives. So if your mother has a COVID attack, or if you get COVID and we need to minister to your mom, we don't know where she lives. So one of the things I gave my elders, I broke my my membership list up to my elders and just had them call people. How are you doing? What do you need? And what is your current address? And do you currently have a job? No shade. We just need to know that when we set up to minister to our family,
so we can assist you.
And so it's been a real big task, just really flat out learning those different ways. So that's one way, is having all my elders make touches. Ways number two, I try to make phone calls to the persons who aren't touched. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that's been a real big deal, because there's certain people in your church that are either introverts or they're just different. Some of them are police officers, some of them are doctors. It's not like they're missing anything. They're just in a different context that the rest of us normally work a 9 to 5, or we had a set schedule and they're a little bit varied. You really have to just make an effort like, who at my church do I normally not see? Go through your church roll list and like, I'm calling that person. All right, I don't have the number. Call the elder. Hey, did you get the right phone number? And so it's really been, a check and balance kind of thing. And then the Facebook Live thing has been hitting. Opening honestly.
I love that. I love that, because it shows that you are really paying attention and trying to hit and touch everybody to some degree. And I think right now there are some communities, church communities, that may feel forgotten or left behind. And it's really good. Like, we've been saying this whole message about meet people where they are for years. And I think that now it has taken on a whole new meaning. And it made me think about, like, with you trying to create that community and, keep folks together, it made me think about, like, the historical context of church and how, as Black people, how we gather there, like in the civil rights movement, even before that, during slavery, like how we would come together. That was the day people could not work and like be together, and how we have used that and have needed that to strengthen and like for resilience within our community. And now that we don't have that, it makes me wonder, do we have it actually? Like, if we don't have the building, do we have it? What does it look like now? Because I'm noticing little pockets of community. Like, we're a community, like the three of us, we talk all the time, but that larger dynamic, it's a little fractured. And it's I don't know, it makes me feel sad. It makes me feel really sad, because we grew up with so many people, and it's just like, where they at? What happened?
I think we grew up with the illusion of so many people. Like, if we can be fair, a lot of us weren't cool with everybody. But there was always a random one individual that was friends with another random individual, and then that allowed 10 people to go somewhere together versus the 4 that you only talk to.
Yeah, but it was still.
But now that you don't have church, you don't have that random individual to unintentionally link y'all to the same destination.
But we can still see them, though. We can still put hands on them. And that's something for me. That is very important.
Visual is important.
I can. And so it's like, now it just, because we also been having this debate, like, do we need the building? The church is us. Like, that means, you know what I'm saying? And that's a different discussion. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but we've been having different circles, been having this discussion.
And rightfully so, because I feel like what Corona is teaching us is some of the things that we've upheld about church for years are not necessarily true anymore. Streaming doesn't work. Get off your Facebook and get in the book. You know, stuff we've been saying to people.
Never heard that. I never heard that.
Oh, shoot. I heard that a lot.
You better come up with the
Yeah.
idiot. Yes,
Jesus calling. Hang up.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
But all those.
Stop looking at a text and get in the text. Amen.
Yes. Yes. But all those things that we've been saying, and now here we are utilizing those same means for engagement. Like literally, that's all you have right now. And for me, it's been looking like, you know, I've seen numbers for streams soar right now because I think people are really missing that aspect of, you know, whether I can watch church in my bed or if I can watch it at 5 o'clock or whatever, people are still doing it. They're still engaging with it.
But don't you feel like it's like 9/12? Like, y'all remember 2001? Y'all remember 9/10, 2001, September 10th? Y'all remember how everybody was kind of freelancing, church is optional, you know, everybody get into the, you know, the 1% nation and everybody, all of a sudden, flying plane into the World Trade Center. Everybody back in church full.
Everybody's in there.
We need to preach prophecy. We need to believe in the books of the Lord. The Psalms are true. And then, you know, I feel like as much as they're also, that we were in a 9-10 state, right, where prosperity was on all of us. We were able to create our own businesses, create our own notions. We were doing a really, really, really amazing job. And then all of a sudden, 9/11 happened, and then we went right back to 9/12. And so and here's the other part, if we can keep it real. A lot of people are watching a lot of people.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that miss their pastor. For those of us pastors who've transitioned to different churches, you know, depending on your denominational sector, a lot of us are just transitioned, or a lot of us would really like to visit their pastor, but we can't because
can't go. Yeah.
We can't drive to Mississippi, or we can't drive to different places. Now, shoot, click up. My pastor ain't talking about nothing.
Well, Bri, I was actually going to say also that on the opposite end of that, Corona is maybe the worst thing to happen to some of these churches where members are unhappy, because this is pretty much like try a new pastor time. You know, I can watch
a sermon.
Yeah.
And there's a sermon every day.
Like, I don't like it.
I don't like it.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you were talking about engagement, I thought that was so important, because it's not just that you are speaking every week, whether that be Saturday or Sunday, or if you're coming on for Wednesday prayer. What are you doing in between that to keep the engagement up? Because honestly, I could watch 5 speakers, you know, in one day. What's going to make it different? What is it about yours that's going to make me lock in and want to go, hey, when church opens, I want to be in that church. I want to go meet that pastor. I want to be in that sanctuary.
I think the number one goal is don't let this stop nothing. Do not allow this to stop anything. Literally the entire ministry of Jesus, and I think it's probably going to end up being the theme of this podcast specifically, is Jesus met everybody where they were, whether they were by the pool of Bethesda, whether it was the hoe at the well, whether it was the woman with a funeral procession and he stopped her on the way to the the cemetery, whether it's Lazarus at the cemetery, the little girl who was in the house who was sick, centurion guard, come see my daughter. I mean, we have very few occasions where people carte blanche stop Jesus in his track and say, hey, I need you to bless me. That is such a minor topic. And the fact that we believe that our goal is to be the ones who literally, you know, grab people and collect them, you know, bring it in the sheaves, is a real loose concept. Number 2, I think the other part is preach the word, yo. And I know that's crazy, but I can tell you for a fact, a lot of us have heard a new version of the same text 53 trillion times. I mean, like, honestly, how many sermons have we really heard on Jehoshaphat? Not as many as we've heard on Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Right. I mean, how, you know what I mean? I mean, the book of Exodus has been worn out. The book of Genesis has been worn out to Jesus Christ. Okay, the whole Pentateuch, minus Numbers and Deuteronomy. I mean, like, think about it. There's just books in the Bible that we have like bludgeoned, but nobody's really jumped off into some of the other books or even fought to write a new sermon, not put a new cute twist on it, not a new title, not a new angle. But I mean, just flat out like, I don't know what this text is talking about, though I appreciate 50 times.
The word.
What this is.
I
Because
appreciate
when I preached in the wilderness, nobody was there, and all of a sudden, people showed up. So I think if you meet them where they are and actually, it's going to give me trouble, but if you actually, as a pastor or a minister, work in the Bible, there's no way God's word goes forth and returns unto him. That's what his word is.
Right. I totally agree with you. You know, I appreciate what is happening. And I think everybody in this box, except Simone, has had the wonderful privilege of preaching a sermon. You do it professionally, but we have, done it before. While I appreciate the ties to make the message current, I don't need no more coronavirus sermons.
I don't need no more corona talk.
You can keep them.
We don't need it. We don't need it.
Just preach the word to me, because
just preach it. Yeah.
You can make corona relevant in the word without having to make leaps and bounds to make it stick. Like, you don't have to make it tie in to what we're going through right now, because truth, God's word ties into what we're going through right now, regardless of corona.
Yeah, Christ over corona only lasted 1 week, right?
Yeah.
Right.
really and truly, it sounds like, in kind of going to go into the next question as far as like, how does this stuff look once churches open back up and this, that, and the other? It really, to me, sounds like churches are going to have to step their game up. Not just as far as how we minister or how we, preach the word to people, but how we, minister and what things become important. Because, folks, we're at, record high unemployment. We got folks who are, struggling to eat. We got folks that are struggling to pay bills, this, that, and the other. And, what good is a church that doesn't really help the people that's around it? And we're going to have to stop paying that whole lip service. As far as, we love people, we're going to do this, and actually do it.
Actually do it. But this is my other question, though. This is my I don't know how y'all gonna feel about this, but I know that churches have to show up. But how much of this, falling away that we've seen, how much of it is about us and us wanting the church or the pastor to grab us? Like, we have to show up too. We have to show up. They're not there to convince us or to make it look fun and entertaining. They're not puppets. And so I feel like in a lot of ways it's a two-way street, and are we going to show up? And I don't think it's fair to, expect that the pastor is going to turn over a new leaf and, like play a circus act to get me to look at him or her instead of over here. That puts the onus on the pastor and not me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's also another side to it that I must admit, even as a pastor. We've done a lot of stuff that is great for church members, but we haven't done a lot of stuff that is great for community. One of the primary things that I was talking about as soon as COVID happened is the mere fact that all of us ain't rich. All of us ain't well-to-do, and all of us don't live but I'm saying all of us don't live in suburbs. And the reality of it is copper, during depression and during economic hardships, stolen copper becomes a real deal. Buildings get set on fire because people don't know how to steal copper. So they blow torch in your air conditioning unit, and all of a sudden they hit the wrong line. Now they either cause electrical fire, they set your house on fire, right? And so one of the things I was talking about that are just basic light bulbs. Put light bulbs around your member's house to discourage robbers from coming in. In the event the house does get set on fire, lock lube. Are we spraying WD-40 into them locks so that in the event that something happens, they can get out that back door or front door or whatever?
That's what I'm talking about, though. I love that. As opposed to, let's get the best bulletins. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get the best bulletins. Let's get the marquee. What does that do something for?
Yeah, yeah.
That ain't paying nobody's nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's get down into people's everyday lives.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and even post-COVID,
You know
one of the things people need to really think about is at laundry, like not having a laundry mat, but buying 4 queen laundry machines that take no quarters, put them in your church,
Wow.
and offering people in your community or your church the opportunity to wash loads of laundry at your church free.
Yeah.
Because the reality of it is, a lot of us gonna get our jobs back, but we behind on our mortgages, we behind on our cell phone bills, we behind on a myriad of things that though they're not collecting now, the reality of it is that they're gonna be collecting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They can't evict you now, but they eventually gonna have to reach a date for their sustainability of their employees to evict you, so that they can have tenants in there that will pay. So the reality of it is, there's a lot of things that we could do as a church to say, look, I know what direction we were moving, but a closed closet for a person who can't wash them is as good as giving them garbage bags to throw it away.
Right.
We should really take some of our clothes, exit the clothes, drop dryers, drop washing machines, drop down. Like, there's so much we could do.
Yes, everyday life stuff.
Absolutely.
Love it.
You can't go to the laundromat no more because you can't have more than 10 people. No more than you got the money to pay them ridiculous prices, $250 for one washing machine, because your stimulus check ain't gonna go that far.
So what's the financial impact of the church due to COVID, man? What's that looking like?
His eyes got big.
he said, no.
Don't go there.
We're in the black. No, our expenditures went down.
That's what happens. Yeah, the expenses go down.
The other side, because there's no church fat, is what I'll call it.
Yeah.
The people, CNN did, MSNBC did a study the other day. People 25 and under have risen 6% in their viewership of online worship. People 65 and over have gone down 4%. So the reality of it is simple, right?
Come on, statistics.
Right.
They're flat out. My generation makes money. Like, we can cry about our student loans because college is clearly ridiculous in its tuition. We can cry about it, but a lot of us are on payment plans, and we ain't sending all of our paychecks to paying back Sally Mae. I'm sorry, Navient and
Nelnet.
Right.
Anyway, so the reality of it is a lot of our members, a lot of my generation, our generation, that wasn't exactly doing anything in church, wasn't giving anything to church because it wasn't hitting that spot. A lot of the people that are prevailing, thank God, my church, we still giving food away, still giving clothes away, still giving laundry detergent away, still giving. And so as a result, people are like, oh, they doing it. Here's more money. And then, we were paying an $1,800 electricity bill. It's gone down to $600.
Yeah.
So the mere fact that I'm $1,200 in the black, if I can just maintain my budget, and then talk about the fact that people are actually giving more.
Yeah.
So
So speak to that.
Not giving more, I got more people giving.
Yeah.
Because they see us doing things, making a difference in the community.
That makes sense.
And I think that ties in directly because I think a lot of people, a lot of the older people condemn our generation for not giving enough. I think it's just we want to see where the money is going. We want to see it being put to good use. We want to see that I'm reaching the community. Okay, how are you reaching the community? How are you using my tithe and offering to reach that community? When we start as a church putting our money where our mouth is and stop propping up our buildings or, making our bulletins better or what have you.
Building fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really pouring it into the communities around us. I think that encourages more people to just give more because, hey, this church is really doing it. They're not trying to put more money into this project over here. They're really putting it back into the community.
Into the community. Yeah. For sure.
That makes if your church is out there doing stuff, people are gonna be like, oh, he's not just collecting money to collect it. Oh, they're actually distributing that money. So let me give y'all a couple dollars.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, my carpet is an insurance hazard, but we don't have the benefit to worry about it. I'm waiting for somebody to break their hip. I know we're done. I know when I'm a hip in the church, I'm dead.
Oh no.
But it's
Just draw up some waiver forms. Can you do that? We are not liable.
We're not liable.
Mother, you have not given enough. Your hip cannot be.
Right.
Brandon Howard for regeneration.
You brought up one of y'all said something that just left my brain. Oh, I think this is probably a conversation for another day, but you were kind of talking about the generational differences, and this is something we talked about, like millennials or whatever. We ask more questions. We want to know more things about how the church operates and why and how, and that's just very different from historically how we were raised up. And it just made me think about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We asked a lot more questions about things.
For another day, right there.
Definitely, it definitely is. It definitely is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, as Simone would say, want to be respectful of everybody's time. But before we go and prepare to close this up, I do want to ask maybe one final question that we all can try to answer. Let me see, I'm trying to put how I want to put this. Do you feel like from this discussion, from Corona, from how you're feeling right now, and all that we've said, do you feel like we still need the church itself? Like Simone was talking about earlier, how it was that place of fellowship and gathering beforehand. Do you still feel like, even despite all this, the online services, the giving, do you still feel like we need church? And I'll answer first, and then I'll let y'all think. We had this discussion this week earlier about how church itself, being in church, the community itself has allowed me to fail up. It has given me the opportunity to speak publicly and mess up, to work on websites and flyers and get it all wrong so that I could do stuff correctly in the corporate world. So for me, I feel like if nothing else, giving your children or folks coming up that space where they can grow their talent or their craft, whether that be singing or ministry or sign language, all these things I'm thinking about church gave to me. My love for military and ROTC came from Pathfinders. All those years I had a Pathfinders. It was preparing me way before I knew what ROTC was. I had a Pathfinder experience. Yeah. So like for me, I would say yes. I'm not looking at, when this is over, looking at church as my sole place to be fed anymore. But I am looking for it as a place to be poured into continuously, and that I can pour into as well. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys think?
I'm definitely right there with you. For me, just like Bryant, I'm a people person. I gotta see people. We're not gonna, for obvious reasons, not gonna be able to touch people like we were. We're not gonna be hugging as much, not gonna be dapping as much, this, that, and the other. But just to see people and talk to people in a space that is safe, for lack of a better phrase. Us as Black folks, there aren't too many other places where we can go. We can be amongst people that look like us, primarily look like us, that, we feel comfortable, we can let those guards down. So that, and going along with Tiff, I owe a lot of the things that I've done corporately to what I've done in the church. Speaking, being over programs and doing this, that, and the other, that has helped shape and mold me. And church allows me to have to confront different types of people in different hues. You have to learn how to navigate that space every week. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it's nothing for me to go to an office and talk to this person, talk to that person, talk to that person. It's nothing. I do it second nature. And a lot of that stems from, because you have to do that at church. And, I've been alive for 35 years. And so there's 52 weeks in a year. And so we're looking at almost 2,000 times I've gone into a church. And we're just looking at just a once a week type deal, and I've gone to church being a pastor's kid
multiple times,
2, 3, 4, 5 days out the week. So,
Right.
Having those, I will definitely feel like church is a mandatory thing for me, but I won't be guilty. I won't feel guilty if I say, you know what? I'm going to take my family and go to the park. Or I'm going to, me and a couple of friends are going to get together. We're going to cook. We're going to have devotion. We're going to take a walk, and we're going to do X, Y, Z. But I'm not going to feel guilty about doing that, like I'm missing out or letting the church down because of that. That feeling is gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with y'all 100%. Definitely on the professional level, as an almost psychologist, I have been able to talk to people. They have let me counsel them. They have asked me for referrals. They talk to me about their mental health concerns. Like, you want to talk to me? You want to talk to me? Through Grief Share, doing panels, I have really, I feel in a lot of ways, like Brandon said, learned to talk to and manage relationships, difficult interpersonal dynamics because of being there. So that's one piece as a mother. I think about my own childhood, and I wrote this in my acknowledgments in my dissertation. I mentioned my church family because that base, that community is my most consistent, one of the most consistent places I've gotten support and belongingness. And so I want him to have that. I want him to feel that. And there's just no other venue where I know he's going to be cared for, taken care of. Like, I trust all of y'all with my child. I don't trust nobody, but my church family, for the most part, I know if I walk out the room, he's going to be good, and that's how I grew up, and I want that for him. And so absolutely, it's necessary. I agree. Like, I'm going to be more intentional about how I spend my Sabbath when this is open, when outside open up. But I definitely, when it opens back up, we're going to be there early, at least for a while, as it kind of wears off, you slide back, but we're going to be there.
9:12.
Okay. Y'all know me. I don't get to church. I get to come to church at 1:00.
I'll say it this way, flat out, I think that church must change. There's no way you're going to go back from a 4-man praise team, three in the front song service, hardly no announcements, no movements, no children's story, to this dude preaching, and you only had to do like an hour and 15 minutes. And we about to go back to the whole 2-hour show that we were putting on before. I think the community concept of church is imperative. Because it not only teaches you responsibility about being over departments or being a part of a team, but there's also the other concepts of that flat out. We as church members, or we as people, need that community. The Bible says, do not forsake open assembly. People take that to mean the actual physical jargon movement of church. But I would like to suggest it's more relevant to, look, you need people's testimonies to help you feel encouraged. You need that dynamic and that sprinkle of someone else's understanding of scripture to add to your dynamic jewel of how the light shines through you. You need those different things. And that entire perspective, if I didn't have married families at church, who would encourage me to be married when I come from a divorce? If I didn't have masculine men at church, growing up in a house full of women, who would do those things for me? Who would have, that ownership, that Uncle Ken, and that, I'm saying, those Uncle Mike and Daddy Dorsey? Who would have those things if I, as an individual, did not have the community of church because I could have devotion at home? So there's a concept that, I think it's helpful to have a pastor preach because every now and then it's good to have a new dynamic and a mind-numbing expertise opinion about something. But I think we've got to get away from church service being music, party, show, lights, smoke machine, and singing to give me the word. Let's serve people or spend time together that builds us. as individuals.
Yes.
Not so much causes me into this lethargic seating that when I go home, I need a nap because my behind is tired.
Yeah.
Right. So y'all, I'm so sorry. I love this discussion. We are almost at time. So we got to go around real quick and say what we're going to do for our self-care. This is what we do every time, Bryant. So what are folks going to do? I'm going to go last.
Okay. I am going to make a conscious effort to cook more this week, and stop buying stuff out the fast food.
Okay, that's a good one.
I'm going to look at opening up the Bible a little bit more this week.
I am going to hit my elliptical machine I'm going to hit my elliptical machine, and I'm going to meal prep so that I can actually see the pounds drop than rather drop my weight down.
Okay. And so this time when I spend time in my car, I'm going to actually drive it somewhere this time. I'm going to actually go somewhere. So I'm going to expand on this thing. So, is that good enough?
Gross.
It's gross. Bryant, thank you so much for being with us. We so appreciate you coming on and giving your perspective. We love you.
Have me back anytime. I'd love to do this. It's dope.
Absolutely. All right, y'all.
Wait, before we go, I got to remind you, we're having a guest next week. Simone, do you know who we're having next week?
Yes, we're having Brittany Turner, who is a nurse in New York, which New York is the epicenter of this whole COVID, these corona times. So that's going to be a really great discussion. So please tune back in.
Yeah, and as always, you guys can like, comment, share the video. It's going to be on YouTube every Monday. So please keep coming back. Please keep sharing. Bryant, thank you again for joining us. Everybody, what we're going to say?
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands in these
times. Wear your mask. And social distancing.
Wash your hands.
Spirit fingers.
Yes. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.